Welcome back everyone to another Girl Power Day Zero build. Today we're going over Midnight 2, a much anticipated returning fan favorite. Let's get right into it. She is a 6 hand size 29 health character. Hello Sam. She has Pro Hero and Teacher as her character traits. Oddly though, even though Teacher is a character trait, we have yet to see a Teacher exclusive ability, which is weird. But who knows, maybe that'll come later. She has Chaos, Death, and Void as her symbols, and I have chosen Chaos for this build. I believe this is my first Chaos build of Girl Power. She has 2 responses, the first of which is after your range attack is not blocked, freeze one rifle foundation. This can be really good going into our rival's turn, giving them less resources to commit to pass their checks, and less things that they can do to try to harm us on the backswing. And then as another response, she can commit herself after an attack is blocked, either your attack or your rival's attack. Your rival discards 1 card. If they discarded a non-attack card this way, your next check to play a card gets +2. So this is a really powerful effect, and you're probably only really going to need to use this on your rival's turn until you go into your kill turn, because you're mainly going to want to be keeping yourself up so that if your ranged attacks are not blocked, you can keep freezing foundations, and then on your rival's turn, you block an attack, you commit her, you discard a card from your rival's hand, and if they didn't want to lose an attack, your next check to block gets +2. Going into your kill turn, if your rival blocks your attack, you can commit her, discard one of your rival's last cards in their hand, and again, if they didn't discard an attack, your next check to play an attack gets +2. So you're only really going to use her on your turn if you're going in for the kill, and she's mainly a very defensive ability on that response. Don't know if you guys can hear that, but someone's trying to ride a motorcycle outside my street. So I'm sorry if that gets picked up. So let's move into our attack, shall we? We've got Dire Assault. This is one of her 2 attacks. It's a 4-low-5. It's a flash, so this attack goes straight from response on play to block step. You don't have any enhanced step. And as a response, you can spend a momentum. If it's blocked, after your rival blocks it, they discard a card. So either they discard a card, or you get to seal one of their foundations. And on a 4-low-5, that's a pretty good rate. It's just a common. A lot of people might think you have better ways to spend your momentum, but you don't have to spend the momentum if it's not blocked. And if it is blocked, you just get to rip another card out of their hand to guarantee they can't block the rest of your cards. So I see this, as the Hulk would say, as an absolute win. Then we have Somnambulist Subdual. This is her ultra rare. It's a 3 high for 2. It's got Stun 2, and if your rival does not try to block this attack, you get to freeze 2 rival foundations. So Stun 2, freeze 2. As long as your rival does not attempt to block this attack. They could try to block it and fail. Like if they didn't have enough foundations to commit it, they can just attempt to block, fail the check, and you don't get to freeze, but then it still would count as not blocked, and you get to freeze 1 as opposed to the 3 if it's not even attempted to be blocked. So if your rival's out of high blocks or out of mid blocks, you can just freeze 3 foundations. And since we are going for a lot of foundation committal, because remember, anything that is frozen, I should have gone over this earlier, if a foundation is frozen, it does not ready during your rival's next ready step. So they have to spend that entire turn with that foundation committed, which means it is still committed going into your turn, and that's where Walk the Dog comes in. This is an 8 difficulty move that in Midnight is likely going to just be a 4 difficulty move because it gets -1 difficulty for each committed rival foundation to a maximum of -4. It's a 6-low-6 with Powerful 3 and Stun 1, so another 1 stun, 1 committed foundation. It draws a card for every copy of Walk the Dog in your card pool, including itself. So, draws you an extra card, stuns another foundation that can then be frozen if this card is not blocked. Powerful 3 is a really strong rate on a 6-low-6, and it can become a 4 difficulty rather easily in her, considering we want to continuously commit and freeze our rival's foundations. We have Around the World. This is a Stun 1 Throw, so it's a 4 mid-6 with Throw, so it's going to do usually at least 3 damage. It's a Stun 1, so when this attack is not blocked, you can freeze the stunned foundation. You can spend a momentum to add a copy of Around the World or Walk the Dog from your discard pile to your hand. So again, turning a momentum into another attack, which is really strong. It has a Team Rokuyukai in hands. We are not on Team Rokuyukai, so that doesn't really matter. But a throw that can gain us another attack if we spend a momentum, either another throw or a Walk the Dog, and if it's not blocked, we get to freeze the foundation that we stunned with this card. Then we have Nejire Wave. This is a 4/4 that says when you play it as an attack, you can spend a momentum. Your rival commits 3 foundations. This is a solid opener to try to commit as many foundations as possible, to then freeze as many foundations as possible when our rival can inevitably not block our full string out assault. So that's really good. And then as an enhance, it gets +2 damage for each attack your rival has blocked this turn. So if they are being cheeky little defensive people, this can become a huge dunk that hopefully they can't block at the end of your string. We have Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken. This card can go to your momentum face up. It's a 4/6. In your momentum, once per turn, you can give your attack 2 speed, which helps with the if this attack is not blocked response on midnight. You can commit and freeze one rival foundation as an enhance, so commit and freeze one, and then if it's not blocked, you get to freeze a second one, and it can commit an asset if your rival has a defensive asset like Airy that is giving you trouble, or Idunbox. Really good to get those out of the way. So continuously just pressuring down on our rival's stage and making sure they have very little options to try to deal with us. And lastly, Dimensional Sphere. This is a 5/1 with stun 1. Again, we stun 1, and if it's not blocked, we can freeze that one. Not a lot of people are going to want to block a 1 damage move, especially if it's at 5 speed. And if it's not blocked, as an enhance, we say if it's not blocked, we get to draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card. So a net positive of 1 card, maybe getting rid of a foundation for 2 more attacks, hopefully. And if we block with this card, we can remove that blocked attack from the game before the damage step. So protecting us from, if we're having to half block something, we don't take the damage. If we block a throw, we don't take the damage. It's just a really good get out of attack free card if you're able to block with that nice +1 mid block. Speaking of getting out of attacks for free, moving on to assets, we have Cape of No Return. This is a unique asset, so you can only have 1 in your stage at a time, but as an enhance, you can remove it to remove the current attack from the game. So you can just tell your rival, oh, that attack you played? Bye. You don't get to play that attack. Get it out of my face. It's a really great defensive piece from Dark Tournament, and I would highly recommend running 1, maybe 2 of it if you are on these symbols and have room. For actions, we have the Dark Tournament Looms. We can remove this as an enhance to add a card from our momentum to our hand and draw a card. Now, you don't necessarily have to have momentum to play this card. You can play it as an enhance, remove, draw 1 card, but you can get full value by picking up an attack from your momentum and drawing an additional card at the cost of 1 action. That's a 1 difficulty action, so really solid rate there. And lastly, for actions, we have Genkai's Guidance. We can respond with it by destroying 3 foundations. After our rival plays an attack, we remove that attack from the game. If it's an attack we guaranteed cannot deal with or would kill us, we can just hit that eject button. But as a first form, we can remove it and discard 1 card to force our rival to discard 1 card. So if we're going into our kill turn, and we have, say, 4 attacks, a foundation, and a Genkai's Guidance, we can pitch the foundation to rip another card out of our rival's hand, and then if they block and have 1 last card in their hand, commit Midnight to force them to discard that last card. And then we just repeatedly punch them in the face with our full ranged package. Moving on to foundations, we have Disarming Glance. This is her foundation. It's a 3 low block with Pro Hero Breaker 1. We have the Pro Hero keyword on our character, so we have access to that Breaker 1, which means if we block with this card, our rival's next check to play a card will get -1. And then as a response, we can flip it after an attack is played. Players cannot play abilities that add cards to their hand until after that attack resolves. Now, if we have a way to abort that attack, say with Genkai's Guidance, or Cape of No Return, or Dimensional Sphere, we say response flip, neither player can add cards to their hand by card effects for the rest of the turn, because if the attack is aborted, does not reach damage step and resolution, then this effect will just fall off at the end of the turn. It'll linger until the end of the turn. So back when Mop Strike was still around, this was a really good card to counter Mop Strike. And actually, given that there's still so much free draw in this game, this is an amazing card to have, especially, like I said, if you have these aborts like Dimensional Sphere, Cape of No Return, Genkai's Guidance, any way to remove an attack or flip an attack before it would resolve in the damage step. Then we have Classmate Support. As a response, we can commit it. After we make a check, it gets +2 if our character is committed, therefore turning this one foundation into 2. So if we've committed Midnight during our rival's turn after blocking their first attack, these now count as 2 foundations for the rest of the turn. If we commit her to discard a card on our turn from our rival's hand to finish off a kill turn, these become +2 for the rest of our turn. Really solid either on offense or defense, and just really great at either keeping us alive or keeping our string going. Acrobatic Style. This is a foundation that can ready itself if you commit a rival's foundation due to your effect. Most of our attacks have stun on them, or have an ability to commit a foundation. So this is just a great way to ready up a foundation, again, offensively, or usually offensively, because we don't have anything that commits our rivals' cards on defense. I lied. We have Childlike Appearance. We can destroy this card, spend 1 momentum, reduce the attack's speed to 0, and if it's blocked, commit 1 rival foundation. It's kind of like a less impactful barrier shield on different symbols. It does cost us a momentum and a ready foundation, but to drop a rival's speed to 0, and then if it's blocked, we get to selectively commit one of their foundations. That's really, really good for ending strings, especially if they're going into their turn with frozen foundations, because then you can commit a foundation that you'd want to freeze on your next turn to prevent them from having that on their next turn. We have Nice Try. Again, this is just a really good flow piece. You can commit it on your turn to pass a check. At the start of your rival's combat phase, it readies itself, and then you can commit it during your rival's turn to give them -2 speed. No notes. We have Nejire-chan of the Big 3. As an enhance, we can destroy a foundation as a cost. This attack is +1 damage. If it's blocked, gain 1 health. So it helps keep our health up, it helps get us out of deadlock, and it allows us to not only get more damage on our attacks, but then say, hey, if you don't block it, I freeze something. If you do block it, I gain health. So on either way, I'm getting something out of this transaction that we're having. We have Basic Training, which as a response, once per turn, we can give an attack +1 damage. And then, as a deadlock response, after an attack is played, it gets +1 speed, and that's playable while committed. The deadlock response is not once per turn, so that's really good. If our rival's trying to go into deadlock because of all of these frozen foundations, now all of our attacks are getting speed, and one of them is getting damage. Speaking of speed, we have Easily Excited, an old Midnight card. As a response once per turn, we can give an attack +1 speed and Taunt after it is played, if it didn't already have Taunt. We don't really care about Taunt, but we do care about +1 speed when we're trying to make sure our attacks are not blocked. Struggling with Studies helps protect our other foundations from being flipped, and we can flip it after our rival plays their 3rd or greater attack in a combat phase to add a card from our card pool to our hand so that we can keep blocking if need be. Final Exam Failures is really good. On our attack, we can flip it to make our rival check against a difficulty of 6. If they fail, they destroy 1 ready foundation. So usually, your rival will check a 5. Usually. So they can either commit 1 foundation and risk that foundation being frozen, or they can destroy a ready foundation. Heaven forbid they check a 3. They have to commit 3 foundations to be frozen, potentially, or they destroy 1 ready foundation. So a really good, cool control piece right here. We've got Seeking Entry as a response. Don't let the yellow wording on response fool you. For some reason that was mixed up. It's supposed to be green. But as a response, you can commit it after your rival plays a non-character ability that adds any number of cards to their hand. we get to seal a rival foundation and draw a card. So defensive draw is really good, or offensive if they're drawing on your turn. Sealing their best offensive or defensive foundation, and drawing us a card so that we keep that balance of hand is really solid. Especially if we're freezing committed foundations and then sealing ready ones. It's just a great way to just have this great board control with your rival. Fearsome Transformations, this flips to draw us a card, and then if we happen to have no momentum, we discard a card. So at worst, you're cycling a card out of your hand. At best, it's just flip to draw a card. And then Master of 1,000 Faces says, as a flip cost, if any player has discarded a card from their hand this turn, this ranged attack gets +2 or -2 damage. I should say combat phase, not turn. This combat phase, this ranged attack gets +2 or -2 damage, adding much needed damage to our attacks that we're trying to push through to freeze things. Because, I mean, if we kill our rival, doesn't matter if we can freeze their things or not. They'd be dead. So that is our Chaos Midnight 2 list. What do you guys think? I know some people kind of were middling on her. She's definitely not as overly powerful as Midnight 1. I don't know if Midnight 1 was overly powerful, but she was really, really good. Midnight 1 was really good with a speed control thing, and now instead of speed control, she's more of a board control. And I like her, honestly. I think this is going to be a fun character to play. I'm interested on testing out all 3 of her different symbols and seeing what else I can come up with. But, yeah. What do you guys think? Do you think Chaos is the way to go? Are you a Void discard hand control person? I went more for the Chaos board control as opposed to the Void hand control. Or do you think freezing your rival's foundations and destroying them under the death symbol would be the best way to go? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.